everyone. Welcome to 251 Advanced Center Operations. My name is Alex Berry, and I will be your instructor this term. I am looking forward to thinking alongside you over these next weeks as we think about what is required to run a children's center, to run an early childhood education institution. Also, to think about this beyond only, well, with and beyond, the basic requirements in terms of licensing regulations and administration, and also thinking about what it means to be a leader in this field, be a leader in an early childhood space, and arriving at this role with a sensitivity to pedagogy and leadership. And so those two ideas, pedagogy and leadership, will be woven throughout this course as we think about center operations. I'd like to begin together by also acknowledging that we are gathering as part of Capilano University on the lands of the Squamish, Musqueam, Lil'wat, and Sechelt nations. And I invite us to think together about our roles as early childhood educators in acknowledging and responding to the truth and reconciliation calls to action, thinking about what it means to be an educator in the 21st century where ongoing colonial violences really do continue to shape our field. And so thinking about what it means to be a leader in a very particular context, in a very particular place, and what kind of accountabilities might be asked of you in this role for you to consider. So I invite you to stay with some of those ideas throughout this course as we think about leadership in early childhood education and your role and possibility toward creating alternative futures that are inclusive and that are anti-oppressive and supportive of children's multiple ways of being. So to get started, I'm going to share with you our eLearn site. Here it is. So on the site, you'll see this is a place for announcements where I'll be making regular announcements to all of you. You should be receiving these announcements through your CAPU email. These are some important dates this term. The add drop period for the fall is September 6th to the 19th. So if you want to drop this class, you'll have to do it before September 19th. The withdrawal period is from September 20th to November 11th. This is a reading that we'll be engaging with together this first week called Working Mothers and the Childcare Dilemma. So please do take a look and read this carefully, as you'll be asked to respond to it this week. This is the course outline. I won't go through it together with you, but you can take a look at it on your own time. I will note, though, that two of our textbooks, the Bloom 2014 and Bruno 2012, are supplementary texts. We will be drawing on a chapter from both of these, and I will make this available to you on eLearn, so you won't need to purchase a text for this course, but rather we'll be engaging with articles and chapters and resources on eLearn together. This is a link to my office Zoom link, which is Monday between 4 and 5 and Tuesdays between 10 and 11 a.m. And this is by appointment only, so please do send me an email prior to joining me to make sure that we have space to meet. This is where you will be signing up for your groups, which I'll speak to a little bit more in a minute. The groups have been pre-assigned for you, so you'll find your name here. Just please add in your contact information and organize with your group times to meet during certain weeks. You'll only have to meet with your group 2 times this term, and it's around a particular assignment, so I'll go into that in a sec. So this section of eLearn is the assignments and submission drop boxes. So you can submit your assignments to these drop boxes. If you click this folder, you'll see more of a detailed outline of the assignments and the percentages, the due dates, and the assignments are all attached here at the bottom. So I'll just briefly go through the assignments, and I'll focus in on one or two today. Many of them are due towards the end of the term, so I won't bombard you with too much today, but mainly focus on the ones that are coming up a bit closer. So your first assignment is assignment 1, the administrative profile. And so that's worth 30%. Part A is focusing on administrative tasks and skills and what's required in the management of a children's center. This is worth 20% and it's due October 2nd by midnight. Part B of this is sort of a reflection on that first Part A assignment. It's worth 10% and it's due on December 5th. I won't go into this one today, but I will go into Part A. So we'll take a look at that together now. For your first assignment, you will be thinking about what's required for effective administration and management of a childcare program and how this requires particular skills and expertise of a manager, director, or administrator. So to prepare for this assignment, in one of the upcoming weeks, there is an interview, a video interview that's posted with Darcel Cottons, and she is the former director of UBC Childcare Services. So you'll be watching this short video and you'll be taking notes on the following points. What administrative tasks and components of operating a center does she mention, imply, or you hear discussed, or you hear inferred from the interview? What skills do you think might be required or necessary to operate a center based upon what she has identified? So you're trying to pull out the administrative tasks. So that's the things that Darcel does. And then you're also trying to pull out the skills. So what are the knowledges or abilities that support Darcel in achieving those tasks? Do some seem more important than others? How would you order or rate the skills in priority of importance? Can some be clustered together? Link the skills that you've identified that would support the administrative tasks and components mentioned above. Okay, so that's the first kind of preliminary part, thinking with the video, starting to pull out these emerging tasks and skills and what you think is most important. Then you're going to write out a heading list of tasks and components and list the skills under each heading. So review and try to order and rate each section with priority of importance. Okay? So I'm going to show you just an example here, very rough example. So an example of a task could be adhering to a monthly budget. This is something that Darcel does. Okay? Some of the skills that might be required in order to fulfill this task could be knowledge of Microsoft Excel, understanding of funding sources and expenditures. Okay? So that's just a rough example for you. So below is the portion that you hand in. What you're going to do is you're going to draw a circle and section pieces as though you were cutting a pie. So you're creating a pie chart according to the percentage of priorities as you've indicated above. Note the types of decision making that you think would be influenced by these components and consider why you have assigned these percentages. So you're going to create, I'm going to go back to my example here. You're going to create a pie chart of each of the tasks. Okay, so if the pie chart piece has a bigger piece, then that means that you think that that task is more important. If it's a smaller piece, then you think that that task might not be as important. Okay, so upload to the eLearn site either a photo or a doc, a Word doc, of your pie chart with percentages allocated, and note the skills that you've included under each task. Ask yourself the following questions and then answer the following in approximately 300 words using APA guidelines. So the first question is, which task or skill would you say that you have some experience, knowledge, or confidence of? How did you gain this experience, knowledge, or confidence? And the second piece is, which task or skill do you feel that you have the least experience of or the most apprehensive to take up? So it's kind of reflecting on your own experiences so far, perhaps in the field of early childhood or perhaps in another role that you've taken up. To see, what are your areas of experience, knowledge, confidence, and what might you have a little bit less experience in, okay? So that's 300 words each. And you'll be uploading this as a Word doc to the eLearn site. Include your name and your course number, 251, on the title of the assignment and on the file, okay? Be sure that you keep a copy of this assignment because we will be working with it later on in the course for Part B. Okay, I'm not going to go into Part B, but also be sure to use APA resources on eLearn to support your work if you're including reference to one of the articles. And also be sure to consult with the library or writing center for support in this, okay? So that's your very first assignment that's due on October 2nd. You will also have an administrative dilemma. This is assignment 2, administrative decision. It's worth 30%. So there are 2 dilemmas. The first one is going to be sort of a practice or a mock round. So in week 8, you will meet with your group and you will together go through a dilemma that will be posted on eLearn for you. You will submit notes to this, but it will not be graded, okay? And then the second piece in week 11, you will then work on the administrative decision assignment, which is a dilemma that I'll be giving to you, again, different dilemma, and you will create a group and an individual submission that's due November 20th by midnight. Okay, and so the outline for that assignment is also posted on eLearn, and the dilemmas will be provided later on. The final assignment is a written paper, which is worth 40%. The paper is broken up into 2 parts. The first is extremely important. It's your weekly notes. So for 10 weeks, you will submit notes every Sunday night by midnight. Each note is worth 2 marks. Okay, so that's 20% of your grade in your weekly notes. So it's really important that you're staying on top of your readings, that you're making insightful, rich notes, and that you're submitting these notes on time by Sunday at midnight. Okay, so these notes will support your final written paper, which is due at the end of the term, December 5th. And that written paper is worth 20%. So I'm just going to show you the outline for your weekly notes that you should be working with. This is also, of course, on eLearn. Okay, so this assignment will demonstrate that you have been attentive to the weekly contents as organized on eLearn and are thinking with the contents of the readings. Selected readings, resources, and content have been organized for review as related to this course. You are expected to submit notes based upon the work reviewed from that week. So you will review the content of the week and upload this working notes document with your points, your perspective, to receive 2% for each submission. So in these notes, it's not only enough to reflect on your own opinion, you need to make clear how you are understanding the content of the readings and the resources. So be sure that you're using APA citations to articulate your understanding of the author's ideas. Okay? So, what else can I say about this? Some prompts to consider in your working sheet for your weekly notes: comment on new ideas, make connections, share perspectives, ask questions. Be sure, again, to use appropriate APA, cite all of the authors that you are drawing on. This is also a really great opportunity to start to prepare for your final paper by including page numbers, the year, so that when you go to write your final paper, you have these notes and these page numbers already available for you. So the notes can be answered in point form or they can be handwritten. And it's about 1 to 2 pages, okay? It must be submitted by the due date and time, which is Sunday at midnight, to receive the 2% for submission. So late submissions for your weekly notes will not be accepted. It needs to be submitted on time, and it needs to show that you're clearly and thoughtfully engaging with the ideas of the articles. So if you are just quickly skimming through the readings and only sharing your personal opinion that's not based on the weekly content, it will be very visible and you will not receive the 2%. The 2% comes from showing your articulation of the content and making rich connections. Okay, so that's a significant part of your grade there, those weekly notes. Okay, let's go back to the eLearn page. So we've taken a quick look at some of the key aspects of the page, the assignments. This is where you'll find all of your course readings and resources. If you click here, the course reading file, you'll see listed and attached some important readings that we'll be engaging with. There's also some resources here, an APA workshop for you, CapU APA, OWL Purdue. This is a great website for APA as well. And here we are in week 1, okay? So this week we're going to be thinking about where have we come in early childhood education and childcare in Canada, and where are we going? So reading the article together, you're going to get this sort of rich contextual history of childcare in Canada and some of the inequities and tensions that are at play in this history and that still live on today. So reading this, you will then respond in this introduction and response to the reading. So you will create an introduction of yourself and a short response to the reading for week 1, which is titled Working Mothers and the Childcare Dilemma. So this response can be a video response of yourself, it can be audio, or it can be written. If it's written, it should be no more than 200 words. This is just a short response. And you'll be responding to these questions. What are key events and timelines as mentioned in the reading? So what are the key moments that you're noticing in the readings? What is sort of this timeline of childcare, the movement of childcare in Canada? Why have you chosen to study early childhood education? What seems most important to the work you will do as an educator in an early years program? Okay, so you will add your post to the forum and then respond to your peers, respond to others. You can also take a look at the course learning outcomes here. And of course, you will be reading the Ultimate Juggling Act, which is a really great short article written by, or actually I think it's interviewing some of a family from the Children's Center here at CapU, and there are also the voices of Kathleen Kuhlman, who is a faculty member at CapU. And so it's really situating some of these tensions and challenges of the childcare crisis in Canada within a very particular place, which is Capilano. So please do read this. This will help you prepare for week 2. And it also brings some important, real life connections to the article that you're reading this week. Okay, so I'm going to share with you some slides. So for today, we will discuss a little bit of the course content. You'll go over the course outline on your own time. We've taken a look at the eLearn organization. We've talked a little bit about assignments. We've discussed some of the readings, the course schedule, and you've been invited into this reading discussion in the online forum. So as part of this course, there are technical skills that you will require. So since this is an online course, there are particular things that you'll need to be aware of. You'll really need to check your CapU email daily. So this is the only way that I have of contacting you directly. This is also where you'll receive any announcements from eLearn. So be sure to check your CapU email regularly. Make sure that there are no issues with your email address. Of course, you'll need a strong internet connection in order to be able to view streaming videos, to participate in your small group sessions. You'll need to know how to work with Microsoft Word to be able to upload high definition photographs, to download and read PDF documents. You'll also need to be aware of how to work with Zoom and perhaps create a visual background if you want to keep the privacy of your space. You'll need someone at your end to provide you with technical support. So here it says Moodle, that's the old word for eLearn, but be sure to check eLearn support by clicking on the Help tab of your eLearn page, and then you can find contact for IT services for any login, password, or technical issues. The email for IT is included here. And also, their phone number is included on the CapU website. So if you just Google CapU IT, it should come up, and they're usually very quick to respond and super helpful. Some policies. Firstly, around communication, my virtual office hours are Mondays between 4 and 5 p.m. and Tuesdays between 10 and 11 a.m. Again, please make an appointment beforehand so that we can organize that time together. If you need support, please do reach out. Please contact me. I'm happy to help as much as I can. I will try my best to respond to your emails within 48 hours. If I haven't responded within 48 hours, please email me again. It's likely that your email has gotten lost in my inbox. And so just sending another reminder can really be great. So don't feel bad about emailing me twice. If I haven't responded within 48 hours, just send me another little shout out. If you have a question about an assignment, please be sure to ask me in advance of the due date to make sure that I have time to get back to you and to support you. If you ask me for help or say that you're confused only a few days before the assignment is due, I'm likely not going to have time to organize my schedule to support you. Okay. Also, if you're feeling unsure about anything in the course, please do ask me early on. So please don't save any concerns to the very last week of class, because that makes it impossible for me to support you and ensure that you're having a good experience. So if you have any concerns, if you have any questions, please be transparent and communicate with me early on, and we can try to make this the best experience for everybody. Just a quick note on English usage and writing style. All the work that we're doing in this class is adhering to APA style and formatting guidelines. So you will lose marks for incorrect spelling, grammar, and incorrect APA style. So I strongly recommend working with the Writing Center. Google CapU Writing Center to find more information on their services. They offer free editing support. You can book a time to have your paper reviewed in their peer support service. I highly recommend booking appointments in advance. So I have many students who organize bi-monthly appointments, every couple of weeks throughout the term, appointments with the Writing Center right from September 1st, just to have the assignments well supported, to have your appointments booked in advance, because they do offer support to a lot of students. And so getting in there early and setting up your appointments in advance will ensure that you do get the support that you need. So it's your responsibility to take action and to ensure that you have the support that you need to follow APA style, and make sure that you're not losing marks for minor spelling or grammar errors. Just having someone else look at your work is such a huge help in noticing, maybe minor errors that you may have not seen. A note on participation. So this course requires a significant amount of independent work, organization, and responsibility for your learning. Because we're not meeting regularly together, this is an asynchronous course. You have, a lot of freedom and a lot of independence here. And so you have a big responsibility to make sure that you're keeping up with the weekly readings and notes, because failure to keep up with the pace of the course will result in a no credit. You will need to pass in order to pass the course, sorry, you cannot miss more than 10% of the classes. So this would mean not submitting work for one of the classes. You need to submit all of the assignments in order to pass the course, because this is a licensure course. So you need to really engage with the weekly content, because not doing so will result in not receiving credits for the course. So make sure that you're staying on top of things, that you've organized into your schedule, that Sunday midnight is the due date for your weekly notes, and to be sure that you're staying on top of that. With regard to your small group meetings, which will happen only a few times, but it is expected that you will be attending those meetings, that you will be online with your video turned on, fully present in your small groups. It's expected that you are available to participate in the online forums and dialogues, and that you're keeping up with the pace of the course. So this is an invitation to think about how we show up as future early childhood educators, as student educators in this virtual space. So how we show up matters, and it shapes how you will envision yourself and grow as a future educator. How you choose to engage in this space will shape how you're able to grow and understand what it means to be a responsive and an ethical future educator. So this is your time to start building skills in communication and thinking with others, becoming a responsive and articulate educator that is immersed in collaboration and sensitivity to others. This begins now. This is a practice, and it's a process that is shaped throughout our work together. So it's not something that as soon as you graduate, oh, now you're an early childhood educator who is ethical, responsive, and communicative. This practice starts now, and so your engagement and your commitment in the course will really shape the kind of educator that you become by the end of your program. So this involves showing your face rather than a black screen or a static image when you're meeting with your small groups. It means being fully present in the online forums and taking your weekly notes seriously as central to your learning. This is a course that you've paid for, that you want to be a part of, and what you take out of it is up to you. So it's your responsibility and your obligation to take from this what you can. Try and soak everything up. So just to switch gears again, thinking about our roles as early childhood educators and becoming leaders in the field. This is a quote from Atkinson and Began, one of the articles that we'll be reading together this term, that's starting to speak about leadership in early childhood education and what that means. And so the authors state, quote, "Within the landscape of early childhood education, leader is a word alive with contested meanings, a word which educators in the field are often reluctant to own. Multiple and sometimes conflicting conceptions of leadership abound." And so throughout these weeks together, we're going to start to imagine, what does leadership mean? What does it mean to be a leader? What does it mean to have a pedagogical sense and a pedagogical intention, a vision in your leadership? Who am I leading, and what am I leading for? Why am I doing this? So some questions to think with. Firstly, what does it mean to lead in an early childhood center? How might you, as a leader and administrator, cultivate a culture of education and care in these spaces? So notice the language of creating a culture and how this is very different than managing bodies, right? You're not a manager. You are a leader, and you're trying to create a culture of education based on particular values in an early childhood space. And the last question is, what is the role of a center administrator? How is this role lived alongside pedagogical interests and obligations? So of course, as center administrators, we may have particular tasks that are required of us, and particular obligations to the basic fundamentals of our practice, like ethics and thinking about licensing regulations and making sure that children are safe. This is a basic level of expectation. But in considering this role as administrators, how might this role be lived alongside pedagogical interests and obligations? So, what is your vision for this field? What is your vision for early childhood education in the 21st century? What do you think matters now? And how will your leadership enact these values and create this culture and community with others? And so, a really important article, or actually a blog post, that will be engaging with this term is posted on eLearn, and it's called What is Pedagogy? And it's written by Cristina Delgado Vintimilla. And I invite you to read that article very closely to think about what is actually meant by pedagogy and why should I be curious about it in my role as a leader. So please do take a look at that article as well. Thinking about our course learning outcomes, as you read this list, you'll notice that some of the language is very reductive. And so I invite you to try and think with some of these learning outcomes with generosity and maybe some creativity to complexify them a little bit. So this term will be thinking about the principles and practices of effective administration. So thinking at a very basic level of what is required and what is needed to lead an early childhood center, and also to think beyond that, as I mentioned a moment ago, in terms of thinking about pedagogy and thinking about pedagogical values and how does this shape and inform how you act as an administrator and how you live this role. We're also going to think about the administrative tasks required in the delivery of childcare. And also, I'm asking you to move beyond this language of delivery of childcare. We're thinking rather about how we are creating educational spaces that is so much more than only, giving or delivering a service as if it's a product. In this course, we're really going to try and move beyond some of those dominant narratives of early childhood education that's just a service or babysitting, that we're really trying to think about this as an educational project, and also what are the tasks that are required in order to create such a project, in order to run a center and to create a community of practice. You're also going to articulate the legal requirements needed to establish and operate a program. You're going to think about the licensing requirements that are specific to infant and toddler programs and special needs programs. You're going to think about the components of human resource management. So as a leader, as a center director, as an administrator, what might be required in terms of hiring educators, sustaining long-term educators, thinking about professional development, creating a culture of community together. What is your image of the early childhood educator, and how do you support others around you to be the best educators that they can be? You're thinking about the organizational structure of a nonprofit society as well. We'll be doing that more towards the end of the course. So thinking about nonprofits and their role and legal responsibilities. Also thinking about what is a board, and what is the relationship between boards and educators? What is that partnership between an early childhood center and the board that a center sometimes works with? So starting to notice those distinctions in the structural organization of early childhood spaces. We're also going to be considering financial management and planning. So creating and organizing a budget that's in response to a particular early childhood space. We're also going to critically analyze the current provincial and local initiatives and the role of the provincial government in childcare, which is absolutely a hot topic right now, thinking about the $10 a day program and the many fast-paced changes that are starting to happen in BC and across Canada. So we'll be looking at that. We'll also be looking at the trends and changes that impact early childhood education. We'll also be thinking about policies and procedures. So we'll be looking at examples from various children's centers and thinking about, what policies might need to be in place in a particular context and what procedures might help us enact those policies. We'll also be thinking about community relations and what other agencies you might need to work with as a leader in an early childhood center. Okay, so that's just kind of a fast run through many topics that we'll be thinking about over these next weeks and we'll be going deeper into, but just to give you sort of an overview of what you can expect in this course. This is the article that you'll be reading together this week. So, Working Mothers in the Childcare Dilemma. It's a history of British Columbia's social policy. And so, this will really ground us in this course, really starting to think about the context of childcare in BC specifically and this history that we have, this very gendered and political history of childcare in Canada. And so, as you're reading, I'm sure that you might be thinking about friends or maybe your own experiences in with childcare in British Columbia and this challenge of finding affordable, quality childcare that's a challenge for so many Canadian families. In some areas of British Columbia, expectant mothers place their children on daycare waiting lists, not even months, but years before they're born. And yet, despite this demand, recent efforts to achieve a universal childcare program have stalled. For the past 40 years, there have been lots of, slow movements and a ton of feminist labor in working toward some kind of universal childcare program. And only in the past few years, this has started to, see some more significant results, some federal, in terms of federal funding and collaboration across the provinces. So read this article, consider the context, start to make that timeline, and think about where we've come in childcare and where you think we need to go. Okay, so in the online forum this week, discuss from this article the events and timelines as mentioned in the reading, highlight the events discussed and timelines with dates and any questions or interests that you have. Also include a little introduction about yourself. So why have you chosen to study early childhood education? And what seems most important to the work that you will do as an educator working in an early years program. Okay? So that is your week 1. There are no weekly notes due this week, just this forum post. You will submit your first weekly notes in week 2, and the content for week 2 has already been posted, but there will be some slides and perhaps a short video that will be posted as well. So I do recommend that you don't work too far ahead because I will be posting some slides and some guidance in engaging with the weekly content. So of course you can work ahead in terms of readings and stuff like that, but be sure to check back because I will offer you some guidance as well. I've been talking a lot, so I think I will leave it there. If anybody has any questions, please do send me an email. I'm looking forward to reading your forum responses this week, due by Sunday at midnight. And yeah, I think that's it. Welcome to the course, everyone, and looking forward to working with you. Take good care.